Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of the Vape Table. And I'm actually doing a 2-for-1 right now, so if you're watching this, I've already put up the Rulo RX200 review. But today we're going to be checking out the Mutation MT, the new RTA from Indulgence, the makers of the Mutation X series 1, 2, 3, 4, and all that. They decided to enter the game of RTAs, and I have to say, they did a very good job. Let's have a look at it. Like I said, guys, welcome back. Today we're checking out the Mutation MT from Indulgence. And as a matter of fact, as of this review, they already have a new version of this out, which is just like Indulgence. You know, you buy the Mutation V3 and hey, congratulations, here's Mutation V4. The only difference between the version that I have and the newest version is the base, or the deck, will actually unscrew and you can screw in a coil head from Indulgence, which I haven't looked at one up close, so I don't know if they had to shrink the deck or not to actually make it detachable and make it to where you could put a coil head in there. But I didn't want that feature anyway, so I didn't care when the new one came out. But I have to tell you, man, RTAs have come such a long way, you know, here in the last couple of months. You know, vape technology is starting to become like computer technology. Oh, look, the newest computer. Oh, look, there's already another one, you know. But with that being said, there are some, you know, Indulgence changed the game, you know, when they did the Mutation series. And until just recently, this is my favorite RTA, you know, hands down. I've got the Aromomizer and a couple other ones. And they were good, they just weren't, they were close. They were close to being it, they just didn't quite make it. This one and the new Griffin RTA from Geek Vape, which I have a review coming on that as well, those are almost RDA performance with a tank on top. You know, they are very close. And we'll go up close, you know, and I'll show you the ins and outs. You know, I'll show you the build I have in it. I'll re-wick it for you, because this one, as you'll see when we go up close, has got some huge juice flow. You know, this thing is really meant to perform at your higher wattages. I run it at about 60 watts on my Rulo mod. And if you don't wick it right, it will leak everywhere. But I'll show you all that. You know, I'll show you what you need to do to make sure that this doesn't leak everywhere. And we'll have a good old time doing it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive down up close and check out the Mutation MT. I guess this is the version 1 from Indulgence. Okay guys, and here we are up close and personal with the Mutation MT from Indulgence. And when you receive it, this will be the packaging you get. Take this band off. The Mutation MT RTA. Here you have some specs. You've got 22 millimeters in diameter, 58.7 millimeters in height. It also has a 5 mil capacity. It's made primarily of glass and stainless steel, and the thread type is 510. And here you have a list of all the stuff that it's going to come with: O-rings and screws and screwdriver. It'll also come with a silicone plug, so you can plug off one side of the juice flow to run single coil, which I'll show you that whenever we get down to the deck section. And inside you will have a spare glass, you'll have your device itself, and then, as usual, the bag of goodies. You have your plastic screwdriver. You also have some clear tank O-rings if you don't like the black ones and want to change to some clear ones. This is the little silicone plug that I'll show you where that goes, but that's to change it to single coil mode and plug off the other side's juice flow. And we'll go ahead and get this out. Move the packaging over here because we're done with that. It did fit every 510 drip tip that I have. I prefer the Shorty Derringer style drip tips, so that's the one. It does come with one. I just don't know where it is because I didn't use it because it was too long. And I'm gonna take this apart because I put the regular glass back on it for the purpose of showing you how it's gonna come packaged. But I'm gonna put my smoked glass back in there, and I'll show you which way the O-rings go and everything like that. It is top fill. The only thing I didn't care for on their top fill section is a single hole only. There's nowhere for the air to go. So if you get it to where there's a lot of juice in there, sometimes it will overflow. Whenever you screw the cap back on, it creates pressure in the tank. And we'll pull this over. This actually comes off for some reason. I'm not sure what it is, but we'll take that off because we don't need that right now. And just grab it and take it apart. Set the deck off to the side, and we'll get to that in a minute. Here's your top section. I don't know if my camera will focus on it or not, but you got Mutation tank, and then the Project Sub-Ohm engraving on the deck section of the chimney. We'll unscrew this. This comes apart because it's a lot easier to put this section over the deck and get it screwed down before you screw the top on, just because you're not having to fight with O-rings to do it. So we'll take that off to the side. Excuse my dog, he's jumping around in his kennel. But yeah, top section of the chimney, or the bottom section of the chimney. Then you have your O-ring here, O-ring here. The glass is a nice, smooth, polished edge glass. And like I said, I got a second one from Spectrum Tanks, spectrumtanks.com, because I wanted an all black tank. So we'll go ahead and put it back together using my smoked glass. And what you do is you just take the ribbed portion, the double sealing section of the O-ring, and just slide it in through the top part. But you want to leave that second section sticking up, kind of like that. As you can see, there's the top of the O-ring, and then the top of the glass is right there. And you'll repeat that on the other side. It makes it easier to fit these O-rings in prior to installing the glass section, just because it slips into the cup sections of the top and bottom cap a lot easier than they slide into the tank itself. So I always like to do that first. And here we go, the star of the show. See if we can zoom in on this a little bit. Here you go. Your standard 4-post deck, I believe they're 2mm post holes. They are Phillips head screws. Don't mind my build. It's crusty, but it still works awesome, so I'm leaving it in there. It's a single piece of 26 gauge Canthal Clapton with 36 gauge nichrome. 7 wrap on a 2.5mm post. Like I said, 7 wrap, and I think it ohms out to 0.45 or something there. You'll notice the finish is kind of wearing off, but I have used this tank a lot, so I just chalk it up to that. But the finish is actually really nice on it. You know, it's a nice flat semi-gloss finish. And then you'll notice those gigantic airflow holes under there. I'm not sure what the specs on the air holes are, seeing as how they're oval and not, you know, circular or anything like that, but they are big. I know the internal airflow is like 5 by 4mm or something like that. So I would imagine these, you know, to be probably, if I had to guess, probably about 3mm by 2mm. And then you can see where the center post comes up through the bottom of the deck, and that is all the wick channel for the dual coil setup. That little silicone plug, you take this out, you take this coil out and just kind of push it down, and it blocks off these two channels, or these two, whichever ones you want to do. But it blocks these channels off, that way juice can't flow in through these two holes. And I haven't used it, but I'm sure it works, you know, just as you would imagine it would. But that is all the juice flow for this RTA. And let me tell you, it's a lot. Like, you can stuff a whole lot of cotton in this thing, and it just sucks up some juice. You can really run through juice with this RTA. But let's Let's go ahead and get this ring back on here. You'll notice a little groove, and that's for the O-ring itself. It'll sit in there, and it gives you just enough tension to adjust it without being loose. And you can turn it, I can't remember which way it's actually supposed to go, but you can turn it and there you go. It'll block off the airflow to one side or the other while leaving the other side open for single coil. And now we have both of them back open. All right. And we're going to re-wick this. I'm going to go ahead and do it on camera. That way you can see what I'm doing. So let's get our cotton out. As always, I like to shout out Samurai Cotton. I mean, they don't sponsor me or anything, but I use their cotton all the time, and I absolutely love it. Go ahead and get a fresh pad here. I love this stuff. It always lasts me for a really long time, even though I re-wick, you know, at least once a week. We will cut off a fresh strip. I mean, be generous with it. You've got plenty of room in there. So I always like to give myself a generous amount of wick. You can always trim it up later if you need to. And like I said, you've got more than enough juice channel for a ridiculous amount of wicking material if you need it. Go ahead and give this a little snip, make it even. I'm OCD about my wicks, so I always like to have them as even as possible. There we go. Alright, there we go. Now we'll start by wicking one side and then we'll wick the other, but I'll make sure to point out what we're doing on this first side to make sure that wicking both is easy. Which this might actually be too thick, but that's alright. We can always trim it down. And this one actually performs just as well with, you know, a really thick wick, seeing as how you've got so much channel to push it in. It actually performs pretty well either way. You know, if you prefer your wicks to be a little bit thinner, it should work just as well. There we go. And I already preheated and retweaked these coils prior to doing this section of the video, so I don't need to do any of that. I always like to cut off the length that I have my hands on because of the oils from your fingers, you know. So now basically what you want to do is you just want to have enough wick to set in this channel. And let me go ahead and install this other wick, and then we'll juice up all four tails and just do them all as one. Like I said, you'd want to use enough cotton to really fill those inlets, because if you don't, this thing does have a tendency to leak. But you know, as long as you have those juice flow control holes, I wouldn't say plugged up, but you know, you've got enough juice to where enough wick to where the juice isn't free flowing in them, you'll be fine. Go ahead and pull that through. Snip off the end of that one. Straighten these out a little bit. So, like I said, we'll go ahead and put a little juice on these. Which I'll go into the juice a little more here in a minute in the keeping it wet section. Hope you guys enjoyed that segment in the last review. My little way of kind of answering the question that I get most often, which is, you know, hey, what juice do you recommend, or is there any juice that you like, or, you know, stuff like that. It's always easier to just answer it in a video where I'm not having to respond all the time. But yeah, just saturate the cotton, make it nice and pliable, that way it's a little bit easier to work with. And like I said, you just want these tails long enough, let me get this out of the way. You just want these tails long enough to fit down in these juice channels without it being too much. You know, so that's actually pretty good right there. Probably have to cut off a little bit on this other side. Let's get this out of the way. Tuck that down in there. So as you can see, you really only want it touching the bottom of that juice flow control. You don't want it sticking way out, which this one's kind of sticking out a little far, but that's alright. The cap will close all that off. Now we'll go ahead and flip this around and do it on the other side. And we'll need to cut that a little bit. Not like that. Yeah, there it goes. Looking good, looking good. But as you can see, they just sit on the bottom of those juice channels. That way you don't have the juice free flowing into the RTA section and right down that airflow hole. Let's go ahead and get this on a device and we'll give it a little pre-fire. It's the part I hate the most because you always end up with juice everywhere. Got it on 60 watts. There we go. Yeah, fired nice. Alright, and this is the section I was talking about when you really want to use this bottom portion of the chimney first. That way you can see if you need to trim anything, which this needs to be pushed in a little bit. You probably need to push in this section as well. And this is the only threading that I found to be kind of crunchy, but I think it's just because there's like breaks in the sections. Alright, make sure we're not touching the chimney section. Got good fire here. Alright, so let's go ahead and put it together. What you'll do is you'll just take your tank section and slide it over your RTA, get it seated down in there. And then it's just as easy as putting your top cap on, making sure that O-ring goes inside the catch portion of the top cap, and you'll feel it grab. And there it goes. Get it snug. This is what I was talking about. My glass section was a little bit loose, so it spins. But since it's double O-ringed at the top and the bottom with those little fins, I haven't had any leaking problems with it. Still firing good. Let's go ahead and juice her up. Like I said, this was really the only con. I didn't like the way they did the top flow. It still works really well, but I don't know. I just think if they'd have put an air hole on the other side, it would have worked a lot better. I don't know if I'll be able to do this on camera because I can't really see it. There we go. I usually use a flavor injector for doing RTAs because it's just easier using a needle tip instead of the big bulky. See, I got some juice stuck in there. Then using the big bulky dropper bottles, and I'm just going to push it in there. But it works fine. And then I like to close off the air. Actually, I should have done it already, but I like to close off the airflow whenever I'm filling up the top fill. That way you don't get a lot of pressure in there while you're screwing the cap on. Put on your drip tip. and we have fire. All right, we'll set that off to the side. And like in the last review, I said I wanted to start doing the keeping it wet section. So here we go. This is another juice from my sponsor, Crazy Clouds. This is Acid Rain. This is another one that I really enjoyed. It's a sour blue raspberry, which, yeah, I mean, come on, who doesn't like blue raspberry flavor? But yeah, still the same viscosity, 80-20. I looked up on their website, and I want to say the 30 ml bottles are $24.99, I believe. Like I said, you use the Vape Table 15, and it'll save you 15% on juice. Awesome juice. For you guys that like candy type flavors, you really need to check out this line. You're not going to go wrong, I promise you. But with that being said, that's enough of the keeping it wet section, and really with up close and personal. So you have been up close and personal with the Mutation MT from Indulgence. So why don't we go ahead and back out, talk on it, and vape on it. And there you have it, guys. An up close and personal look at the Mutation MT from Indulgence. And I love this thing. I really do. There's only one tank that I use as much as this, and we have a review coming on it as well. That's the Griffin from Geek Vape. But I mean, super big juice channels. You saw whenever we went up close how much juice could run through this thing. You've got a more than ample build deck. You know, I was easily able to fit the build that I showed you earlier in there. You got a really nice capacity, really good finish. It's fit all my drip tips. You noticed on mine that I had the black tank that comes from SpectrumTanks.com. I'll put a link down in the description. Really good airflow. That was actually one of my favorite pros to this device. The airflow, as you saw when we went up close, is very quiet. You know, I have a lot of RTAs that'll whistle or real turbulent. The Mutation MT is smooth across the entire spectrum of that airflow. If you want to close it off a little, if you want to close it off a lot, if you want to make it just a sliver of airflow or wide open, it's got the same note to it. You know, it's not a very violent airflow. It's very smooth, very easy to vape on. And I mean, that's about it. If you're looking for an RTA, there's a lot of choices out there, and they've all got their pros and their cons. You know, the only one I had with this one was that it's kind of finicky whenever you're filling juice, you know, and things of that nature. But other than that, it's been a great performer, great price point. I found this on, I believe it was Vapor DNA, because this is the Project Sub-Ohm edition. Vapor DNA had it for, I believe, $30 to $35. I don't know if they still sell the Project Sub-Ohm edition. I haven't looked, but they might have the Project Sub-Ohm edition in the new version. I'm not sure. But if you can find one and you're looking for an RTA, this will definitely be something you want to have in your arsenal. So with that being said, I thank you for watching, and me and the Mutation are going to go have a vape, and we will see you on the next one.